Well, here we are with our review of our chapter review labs from our CCNA with Packet Tracer textbook, and we are ready to take a look at Layer 2 security features, and this lab is going to showcase none other than port security. So notice our first step is to access the properties for PC1 and get the MAC address on the clipboard. Then in step 2, we'll configure port security on switch 1 and then verify and save. So let's go to PC1 and get the MAC address. There would be probably many ways to do this, but how I like to do it is just go to the desktop tab, go to a command prompt, and do an ipconfig/all. Yeah, this is very real world for a Windows-based system to get all of the IP configuration info that they can think to give us. And one of those is the physical address. So we are going to copy that to the clipboard. Notice I can do a Control-C, or to really kind of verify that you got it, probably a better way to go is to right-click and then choose the copy button. Remember, lots of different formats you will see across operating systems when it comes to a MAC address. So don't be surprised if you see a MAC address as like 2 characters and then a hyphen, 2 characters. Here in Packet Tracer for the PC, it's 4 characters and then a period separator twice used in the address. So lots of different formats you might encounter. All right, well, we've got that MAC address on the clipboard, and it's a good thing because we need to go over to switch 1 and lock down the port connecting to PC1 with the port security feature locked down for that exact MAC address. If I do a show CDP neighbor, would that help me figure out where my PC is connected? Well, kind of in a roundabout way, because we can see the fast Ethernet 0/1 interface on the switch connects to R1. If I do a show interface status, I can see that the only connected interfaces on this switch are fast Ethernet 0/1 and fast Ethernet 0/2. So if fast Ethernet 0/1 is connected to router 1, then the fast Ethernet 0/2 must be the connection out to PC1. So you'll want to make very certain you know exactly what interface you have to be working with in a lab like this. Yeah, that's probably one of the easiest ways to go wrong, is to put the port security feature on the incorrect interface. So here we are under the right interface for this feature, and I don't necessarily do this in a lab the way I would do it in the real world. In the real world, I would configure all of the unique settings, the specific settings I need for port security on that interface, and then I would enable port security once I've got all my options set. But here in a lab environment where it's not really critical, the order of operations from a security perspective, I can just immediately make sure that I don't mess up the port security config by turning it on first. Oh, and look at this, I love it. We can't even turn on the feature without the fast Ethernet 0/2 being configured non-dynamically. In other words, it needs to be a manually configured access port. So the first thing we're going to say is switch port mode access. Yes, that is required for the port to be an access port for our port security config to work. So notice I'm going to issue the switch port security command. It can actually be hard to remember to do this if you do my real world methodology of configuring all your options. It can be kind of easy just to then forget to turn it on. We're going to make sure we don't forget to turn it on here in the lab by turning it on first. Yeah, switch port security enables the feature. Okay, now what we need to do is indicate that there is a secure MAC address we are going to configure. Now, the instructions here don't really explicitly say that we need to limit access to a single MAC address, but they implicitly say that in this step 2 instructions. So one thing that I would do for sure is I would say switch port security MAC address. No, wait a minute. Before I do that, I would say maximum and say there is going to be a maximum of 1 MAC address permitted on this port. Yeah, I would definitely do that, even though we weren't explicitly told to do that. Then I would go ahead and say switch port security MAC address and paste in the MAC address that we want to allow. Finally, and this is explicitly told to us, we need to go ahead and set a violation mode of restrict. So I say switch port security violation restrict. There we go. Remember, there are 3 possibilities there: protect, restrict, and shutdown. Shutdown is the default, and protect is so lame, Cisco says you really should never use it. All right, so that configuration looks like it is going to satisfy step 2. Let's end the configuration, let's save, and then notice step 3 is to verify our configuration. Now, something you might be tempted to do here is go and change the MAC address on PC 1 and see if the interface responds appropriately, but I would never do that in my actual CCNA exam. No way. No way am I going to cause a port to be error disabled and then start dealing with bringing that port back up. No way. So my verification here is going to be to go ahead and run the appropriate show commands as the way to verify this. Show port security is a nice starting point. So yes, port security is enabled on Fast Ethernet 0/2. We're allowing 1 MAC address. We currently have 1 MAC address, and there's been no security violations. Another great one is show port security interface. And I can specify the interface where we enabled it, and there's great confirmation we're enabled. We are in a secure up state. We set the violation mode correct. And what else? Yeah, there's a maximum of 1 MAC address allowed. There is a MAC address on the interface, and there's a configured MAC address that is the specific MAC address we want. So this is all of the verification that I'm going to need. I'll save one more time because I'm paranoid about that kind of stuff, and then I will grade this activity. Let's see if we got a perfect score, and we did. Gotta love it. So yeah, a big point I wanted to make with this particular layer 2 security chapter review lab was there are some features where when you're learning, practicing with port security, sure, it's going to be a good idea to go in and cause a violation. But my goodness, I would not do something like that in the actual CCNA exam because, yeah, you just don't want to break stuff. Yeah, you don't want to break things and have potential struggles re-enabling things when you're in a very, very time-sensitive exam experience. Well, thanks so much for watching, and we have one more of these videos left for you. That's right, it's chapter 24. We started at chapter 4, we're ending at chapter 24, and I hope to see you there.